Hey guys, Wade Willis here for my playthrough of Umineko. I'm in Chapter 2, and this is going to be Part 4 of my playthrough, I believe. And a lot of stuff happened in the last episode. Beatrice and Shannon apparently are like BFFs now. Shannon did break that mirror, so it gave Beatrice a bit of her powers back. They're coming back slowly. And George and Shannon's relationship has been able to blossom because of this. Shannon gave this little hairpin to Kanon that helped with magic powers somehow. They didn't really go into too much about it. And then Kanon went to the school fair thing for Jessica to pretend to be her boyfriend. And the girls were like obsessed with Kanon. He was looking super fresh in a peak coat. And yeah. Looks like there might be a new cutest couple in town. And yeah, guys, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Putting out these playthroughs pretty regularly.
今日はジェシカの学校の文化祭だったな。
Okay.
校長先生はお元気でおられたかね。
Oh, I
お元気なようでした。
thought they were asking Kanon how the principal is.
そうそう。高宮議員もおいでになっておりました。あなたによろしくと特に言っておりましたよ。
相変わらずご多忙そうかね。
I would say
そのようでした。
Diet members are usually pretty busy.
あの方も精力的な方です。そうそう。あと、榎本会長もおいででしたっけ。
What freaking school is this? Naturally, the topic of Jessica's cultural festival came up at dinner. School events often became social gatherings for local volunteers. It was the same for the Ushiromiya family, who were celebrities around here. Natsui remembered the name of one VIP after another at the social gathering, telling crowds the news about them. Jessica didn't really have any interest in that discussion and rudely slurped her pumpkin scoop.
お嬢様、あまりお行儀がよろしくないかと。
へいへい、そりゃ悪かったぜ。
ジェシカ、そういう言葉遣いは改めるよう、いつも言っていますよ。
After this cultural festival and seeing Jessica, like, in the band and, like, how she really is, I like her even more now. And, yeah, she's in kind of a weird situation with her family here.
はい。
Jessica answered, discouraged. When she saw that, Kraus smiled a little and paused his conversation with Natsui.
ジェシカの方はどうだったかね、文化祭は。
ああ、まあ、
見ていましたよ。よく頑張っていましたね。
Did she see her sing? Probably not. Jessica's face turned bright red. She probably hadn't imagined that Natsui would actually come to see her on stage. She felt a mix of happiness and embarrassment. Actually, she hadn't wanted her mother to watch, since she didn't want to be told that her music was inappropriate for the Ushiromiya family. But it certainly didn't make her unhappy to hear her parents say that she'd done a good job after watching her try her best.
ジェシカもなかなか落ち着きと貫禄が出てきましたね。生徒代表にふさわしい振る舞いでしたよ。
What? The smile that had been there until a second ago crumbled like sand. Jessica immediately realized that her mom was talking about something different. Jessica was also the school's president. She had no interest in doing something so annoying, but her parents had been so pushy, so she grudgingly accepted. Unfortunately, she was popular at school, so she won the election easily. So Natsuya was praising her for the student council sponsorship ceremony at the beginning of the cultural festival. Actually, she had just carried that out half-heartedly. After that, she immediately met with her friends and held a stage rehearsal for the rest of the time.
人の上に立ち、責任を背負うという経験は、必ず将来役に立つ。後宮家の人間として、きっとジェシカを成熟させてくれるだろう。
ただ、 挨拶が少し早口でした。内容は及第点でしたが、早い口調はそれを薄れさせます。一呼吸置く癖をつけるといいでしょう。
I wouldn't want to hear those tips from my parents in this situation, but she's probably correct. After she finished eating, Jessica didn't feel like going straight to her room. Her room was basically the place her parents had ordered her to be. So perhaps for Jessica, instead of returning to her own room, being at an unknown location in this large mansion was a meager form of resistance. Jessica felt that even being in the mansion made it hard to breathe, so she went outside to the rose garden.
まあ、来たところでどうせ、後ろ宮家の跡継ぎとしてふさわしくないとかなんとか言うんだろうぜ。なら、これでいいんじゃねえかよ。
Jessica laughed at what she was sulking over. She laughed at the kind of words she could possibly have been expecting. That was dumb of me. In the end, I was just acting like an entitled brat. I'm a little exasperated with myself and it makes me want to laugh. Of course, he shows up. I swear, if this guy is secretly a witch or something, I would not be surprised because homie is always sneaking up on people.
Kanon 君か。驚かすなよ。
He's like the butler in Mr. Deeds who just shows up everywhere. Let me give you mouth to mouth. Just as she was about to force a laugh, Kanon suddenly started talking to her and she choked.
何？なんかよ。
Jessica's expression became one she had always wore when looking at Kanon. The listless Jessica from seconds ago was gone. If he had only known Jessica as the eventual successor of the Ushiromiya family, as he had until yesterday, he might have mistakenly thought that Jessica's mood had sprung back to normal. But that wasn't right. He now knew a part of her that he couldn't have seen until yesterday. So he understood that there was no way Jessica actually felt the way she appeared.
今日は文化祭、いや、私の見栄に付き合ってくれてありがとうな。助かったぜ。
お歌、お上手でした。
そうかよ。照れるぜ。
Even though she had heard the words she most wanted to hear, Jessica acted shyly and couldn't accept them openly.
僕には歌は歌えません。楽器も小学校で習ったハーモニカとリコーダー笛しか知りません。だからお嬢様も同じだろうと決めつけていました。
At the time, Kanon had never felt as though he had been looking down on Jessica in this way. But all the people he'd seen playing special instruments were on the other side of the bronze tubes in the TV. At the very least, he'd been under the impression that it would be impossible for Jessica.
僕は家具だから歌を歌う必要も楽器を扱う必要もないと信じてきました。
But I'm not sure anymore.
カノン君、その家具だからって口癖、本当によそうぜ。使用人の心得ってやつだろ。使用人は生きた家具であれってやつ。源氏さんがよく口にしてるもんな。
心得というわけでは本当に家具ですし。
Well, I haven't seen anyone sit on you yet.
福音の家の子たちがいろいろじいさまから援助をもらってるってのは知ってるし、それに恩義を感じてるのも知ってるよ。でもだからって家具なんて言い方はあんまりだぜ。
I agree, Jessica.
私たちは同じ人間じゃないかよ。カノン君は私が歌ってるのを見てどう思った？
とても楽しそうに見えました。
それは多分違うぜ。
え？
楽しそうに見えたんじゃなくて羨ましかったんじゃない？
そんなことは。
Kanon probably hadn't noticed that emotion himself. Most likely, Kanon saw something he'd never seen before, learned about it for the first time, and felt envious. And to trick himself out of that emotion, he called himself furniture over and over.
私は後ろ宮家の跡継ぎだかなんだかだそうで、まあいろいろな面倒がこれからもあると思う。それについては運のない星の下に生まれちまったと諦めるしかないさ。多分カノン君が福音の家で生活しなければならなかったのと同じに、私たち自身にはどうしようもない。生まれる星は選べなかった。
そうかもしれません。
ただ私とカノン君では大きく違うところが一点ある。わかる？
I am furniture and Milady is not. He was about to say but stopped.
わかりません。
She lives her life still.
カノン君は自らの運命が自分の全てだと思って諦めた。私はこんな運命じゃ納得できないから自分の思い切りを頑張ろうと思った。だから後ろ宮家のお嬢様をやらなければならない窮屈な自分と、自分の好きなことに精一杯な自分というもう一人を作った。
もう一人の自分。
カノン君は自分のことを家具だからと言い聞かせてきた。そう言い聞かせなきゃならない辛いことがきっとそれについては本当に気の毒だと思う。でもそれだけでカノン君の人生を全て決めちゃうなんて、私はそんなの悲しいと思うんだよ。人はさ、自分の中に自分が本当に好きになれるもう一人の自分をいつでも現実逃避とかとは違うぜ。そのもう一人の自分でいるとき、私は最高に生きているって実感できる。だから普段の日常がどんなに窮屈で退屈でも、私はきっと窒息せずに生きていけるってわけ。
自分の中に自分が本当に好きになれる自分を作る。
To make another me, one that isn't furniture. Through her relationship with George, has Shannon given birth to another self that isn't furniture? And did this other Shannon see something that cannot be seen by furniture?
私さ、カノン君のプライベートって全然知らないぜ。でもなんだか想像できる。カノン君のプライベートには多分何もない。図星でしょ？
Yes. Kanon couldn't reply, but that was answer enough. He had no concept of private life. So Kanon would always be Kanon. So furniture would always be furniture.
カノン君のカノンってさ、本名じゃないんでしょ？
In the Fukin house, new graduates would be given new families and a new life, so they were also given a new name. In this case, that was Kanon.
確かに僕のこの名は仮のものかもしれません。
Before he had thought of himself as Kanon and no one else, but he remembered. There definitely had been another self that wasn't Kanon, but that was far, far away, beyond the distant fog of oblivion.
ならカノン君にもカノン君である時とそうでない時で違う自分がいてもいいはず。使用人である時のカノン君は自らを家具と呼び厳しく自己を戒めてるかもしれない。でもカノン君じゃない時の君はもっともっと自由に生きていいと思うんだ。
Those words definitely weren't just lip service. Jessica had also been like this in the past. She had cursed her own birth into an environment different from all of her friends at school. Only she had been in a heavily constructed environment, forced to learn all sorts of things. And she had even been told whom she was and wasn't allowed to play with. It may have been sad, but she'd given up resigning herself to the fact that she'd be born under that kind of star. But one day, Jessica stopped giving up and surrendering. Stuff like Ushiromiya family customs and pressure didn't matter. She created a real Jessica inside herself, one who could do what she really wanted to do.
私さ、学校ではジェシってあだ名で呼ばれてる。だからさ、ジェシであるときは自分に思いっきり素直に生きてる。だからこそジェシカであるときも頑張れるんだ。カノン君にもカノンであるときとカノンじゃなくて本名であるときでチカノンじゃないとき、自分を好きになれる自分になってみてもいいんじゃないかな。
僕がカノンじゃないとき。
He'd once thought of his real name as being completely meaningless. Because of that, he thought that Kanon summed up everything about him. And now Jessica was telling him to create something new, another self that wasn't Kanon.
カノン君、嫌じゃなきゃ教えてよ。本当の名前なんていうの？
He was silent for quite some time. Maybe Kanon's real name had risen up to the tip of his tongue. After hesitating for a long time over whether he should say it, in the end, he swallowed it back down.
忘れました。僕の名前など、もうどうでもいいことです。
Those words contained a faint rejection.
僕が本当は何という名前であったとしても、今、ここにカノンとしてあることだけが現実です。過去など何の関係もない。作られた家具の材料が元は何という木の幹であったかなんてどうでもいいことと同じです。
だからよせって。家具じゃないんだぞ。君は人間だぜ。
僕は人間じゃない。
Damn. Kanon clearly voiced his refusal. It was with a rage that he normally didn't show. Jessica couldn't say anything back and was struck silent.
お嬢様は人間です。だからどんな生き方をしようとも自由で、どんな未来も可能性もある。それはまるで翼を持ち自在に空を舞う鳥のよう。でも僕にはそんなものはないんです。僕がたとえ鳥に見えたとしてもアヒルに過ぎない。アヒルに翼はあっても飛ぶことはできない。なのに空の夢を語るなんて、そんなのは残酷すぎる。
家具だのアヒルだの、なんだってんだよ一
I
体。
like ducks, though.
いや、
Jessica had unconsciously gone, along with Kanon's forceful manner of speaking, but she realized that she couldn't fire back and swallowed her words.
私は君のことを何も知らない。生い立ちも知らないし、その苦労も知らない。だから君がどうして自分を家具だなんて言い出すようになったのか想像もつかない。でも知って、君は家具でもアヒルでもない。ちゃんとした人間だぜ。使用人としてのカノン君が家具だと言うならそれでもいいよ。でもならカノン君は家具でない時の人間の時の自分を作ってもいいとは思わない？
そんな可能性を抱けるのは僕はそうじゃない。僕には未来も可能性も見るべき夢もない。
Man.
だからお嬢様、それ以上残酷なことを言わないでください。
なんでだよ。なんでそんなことを
お嬢様が僕のことをご自分と同じ人間だと勘違いなされているようだからです。僕とお嬢様は違う存在。それをはっきり申し上げておきたかったのです。シャノンに聞きました。お嬢様は僕のことをお気に入りになられているとは。
Bro.
いや、
僕は人間に限りなく近い姿をしています。だからシャノンのように自分を人間だと錯覚して一時恋愛の真似事をすることもできるかもしれない。でもそれは自分を騙しているに違いない。いえ、お嬢様を騙すことにもなるのです。シャノンとジョージ様も必ず破綻する。その日が訪れることをシャノンだって理解しているだろうに。バカなことを。
バカだってことはないだろ。そりゃジョージ兄さんは立派な人だし、両親の期待も背負ってる。確かに結婚とかになればエヴァおばさんが色々と口出しをしてくるだろうし、まあゼントは多難だと思うぜ。でもな、ジョージ兄さんはそんなのに屈する人じゃね
え。It's true.
シャノンをジュリエットになんかしねえぜ。きっと幸せにしてくれる。
人は家具と恋などできない。
Actually,
お嬢様が家具を愛することができても、僕にお嬢様を愛することができないと、そう申し上げたいのです。
Those words of Kanon's crushed all of Jessica's bittersweet feelings from the day. There was no way her emotions could have been predicted, that she'd be refused so bluntly. In an instant, she lost the willpower that had led her to try to unravel something stubborn in Kanon's heart. And before she knew it, she was just standing there in shock.
お嬢様が僕を好かれているという気持ちが、僕の思い上がりによるものなら、どうかお許しください。
いや、まあそこは否定しねえぜ。
ありがとうございます。え？僕を人間だと思ってくれてありがとうございます。そのお気持ちだけで僕は本当に嬉しいです。そしてそれ以上は僕には残酷すぎるから。
いや、もう十分だぜ。悪かったな。
This is very uplifting for Valentine's Day. Jessica recklessly scratched at her head and spoke, trying to force herself to sound bright.
私一人がいろいろ先走っちゃって迷惑かけたよ。正直ごめん。貴重な休みを丸一日振り回しちゃって。本当にごめん。
いえ、僕も楽しそうなお嬢様が見られて嬉しかったです。
じゃあ今夜はこれで終わりにしようぜ。私も部屋に戻って仕事をしないとまた母さんに怒られちまうよ。
そうされた方がよろしいでしょう。おやすみなさいませ、お嬢様。
Anyone else think that Shannon's gonna get pissed at Kanon for this?
おやすみ。
Kanon saw Jessica trot away with her back to him, looking disheartened. But then she suddenly broke into a reckless dash and disappeared in the direction of the mansion. As he watched her back for just an instant, Kanon was tormented by the feeling he had just made a huge mistake. Yeah, you did, dude. But he hadn't made a mistake at all. He'd been forced to refuse her for her sake, while the plane was still at its smallest.
女を泣かせるとは、なかなかやるではないか。
There we go. My girl's
お
here.
前がそこまで拒絶するとは意外であった。 普通に受け答えしていれば、わらわの魔法で二組目の恋人たちが生まれていたものを。
いつからそこに。最低な奴だな。
When he turned around, the witch was suddenly there. It looked like she'd been there the whole time, watching the two of them as though enjoying a play.
わらわへの暴言は、愉快なる見せ物に免じて特別に許す。男と女のこじれ合いに勝る見せ物は、千年を経ても存在せぬな。わらわにとっては、何よりも甘美な、止められぬ快楽よ。ん
Kanon pulled the butterfly brooch out of his pocket. It was a manifestation of the great magic the witch had bestowed. Without hesitation, Kanon slammed it on the ground and stomped on it.
ほう。わらわの与えたものと知りつつ、それは何を意味するのか。
今、理解した。お前がしているのは恋のキューピッドなんて洒落たものじゃない。お前は、結ばれぬ者たちに恋を見せて、たぶらかして、楽しんでいるだけの悪魔だ。
そう思うも自由よ。
I don't think that's
わ
really
らわが
her.
力を貸した人間の多くは、お前と同じようなことを口にする。
ほうけるな！お前は、シャノンを憐れんで力を貸したんじゃない。恋に胸を焦がすシャノンの心の隙をついて、自分を封じていた鏡を割らせた。しかもそれだけじゃない。その末路まで想像がついていて、もてあそんでいる。違うか！
カーグとはつくづく哀れな存在よ。夢も未来も恋すらもないか。よいよい、身の程はわきまえるに限るぞ。ジェシカの心には、お前が察する通り、淡い恋心があった。そなたはそれにハサミを入れ、刈り取ったつもりでいる。だが、知っておるか？木は勝手に茂らせたものより、枝を間引き剪定したものの方が太い枝をつけるというぞ。
She's gonna want to save him
シャ
now,
ノンとジョー
probably.
ジもやがては結ばれ得ぬ恋に行き詰まり、わらわ好みの大きな果実を実らせるだろう。しかし、いかんせんあの二人はうまくいきすぎていて、面白くなくてな。そこへ行くと、お前たちは大いにわらわを楽しませてくれそうだぞ。
The witch laughed. Even though she had known that the two of them could never be together, she had lent magic to bring them together. However, they couldn't escape the fate that prevented them from ever being truly joined. The witch knew that. Even if they were joined, Shannon and George, Kanon and Jessica would eventually break up. They would wander through an endless desert in this hell of love, tormented by an eternal thirst.
わらわがその力を対価なく貸すことがあるとでも？恋に手は貸そう。その対価は、やがて必ず訪れる二人への過酷な運命の鑑賞料としていただくわけよ。これに勝る見せ物は1000年経っても存在せぬ。金蔵を見るがいい。恋の味を知り、楽園を追放された哀れな老いぼれの末路を。死んでも死にきれぬ、さながら亡者のような生き様を見るがいい。
やはりお前は魔女だ。消えて失せろ、この悪魔め！
頼まれずとも消えよう。 まだまだわらわには力が戻らぬでな。姿を現し続けるのはまだまだ疲れることよ。そなたら恋人たちに力を授けるのに無理をしすぎたのでな。触媒のブローチなしで力を維持し続けるのは今のわらわには容易ではない。
Kanon grounded his foot even more and stomped on the brooch. He felt it break under his foot. Then it evaporated like water, changing into butterflies that sparkled, gold fluttering out beneath Kanon's foot.
わらわもこの姿を保ち続けるのがちと苦しい。しばしそなたの願い通り姿を消そう。満ちぬ潮も月もないように我が魔力も必ず満ちる。そして必ずや訪れよう。わらわが蘇るにふさわしい時が。それが明日のことか、来年のことか、さもなくば100年1000年未来のことかは想像もつかぬ。だが、わらわを楽しませてくれる者たちがおる限り、わらわは必ずや力を得て蘇るであろう。その時までしばし姿を消す。そなたの手のひらにもはやあざはなく、そなたが望むならば、明日の朝にはわらわの存在など夢か幻のように消し去ることもできよう。忘れ去られることほどわらわに悲しいことはない。だがわらわは必ず蘇る。そしてその日がいつ訪れても後悔することのないよう自らを戒めよ。わらわは必ずや再臨し、この島の真の主として全てを支配する。その時こそ再び黄金鏡の扉が開かれる。欲深な亡者たちが必ずやわらわを呼び覚ます。
くどい。早く消え去れ、黄金の魔女。
I want her to talk more, actually. The wish became a cloud of gold butterflies that scattered away, leaving behind a scornful laugh. The whole area sparkled like a gold blizzard in a snow globe. It was a fleeting, fantastical scene that disappeared in a heartbeat. The witch could no longer be seen. However, Kanon felt like he could still hear that shrill, unpleasant laugh.
ああ、愉快愉快。なぜに久しぶりの人の世はこうも愉快なのか。恋に狂え、黄金に狂え。そのどちらにも狂わぬものなど人間にあらず。なるほど。故に家具とは言えたり。家具は人間に奉仕するために生み出される。そしてわらわは退屈なる1000年の慰み者として人間を虐げる。そのわらわが家具を支配できぬとは、なんとも愉快な三すくみ。金蔵め、実に面白いことをしてくれる。家具め、わらわを撃てるか試みてみるがいい。今宵、まきたる恋の種は2つ。すでにまきたる種と含めて、これで3つ。
Including one I... What?
ベアトリーチェ、なぜに私を一人
Oh
こ
my gosh,
の
this
苦
guy.
界に置き去りにしたのか。私は憎い。これほどまでに恋焦がれているのに答えようとせぬお前を永遠に憎む。
親方様、それ以上のお酒はお体に障ります。 南條先生からもご注意を受けておられるのでは。
黙れ源氏。お前にはわからぬ。我が嘆きも苦しみもわからぬ。お前だけは我が苦しみを理解してくれていると、お前だけは我が最古の友人であると信じているのに、なぜに理解できないというのか。おー、ベアトリーチェ、なぜ私だけを置き去りに。
This guy kills me every time.
なんだよ、家具って。わけわかんねえよ。
おお、おいたわしやジェシカ様。寝室から聞こえてくるすすり泣く声に、私は事情を知りつつも、どうしようもないのでございます。すべては若すぎた二人と近すぎた距離。そして、生まれた家柄が遠すぎたゆえの悲劇。私はただただ、お嬢様のお気持ちを汲み取り、足音を殺して静かに立ち去るのみなのでございます。
それって、どういう意味ですか？長治さん。
言葉通りの意味だよ。僕はまだ自分の城を築き上げてない。それができて初めて、僕は一人前になれたと思えるんだ。その時、君と結婚したい。
それは
Dang, good for you, Shannon.
でもそれじゃあ、もう僕の心が許せないんだ。だから、君に婚約指輪を贈りたい。
婚約ですか？でも私、家具ですし。
そうだったね。じゃあ、家具は人の言うことを聞かないとね。今、君に贈るのにふさわしい指輪を作らせてる。多分、今度の親族会議の日には持っていけると思う。その時に贈るから、どうか君の返事を聞かせてほしいんだ。君が僕の婚約を受けてくれたら、僕はその席で、おじい様を含めたすべての親族の前で、君との婚約を宣言する。
Go George. He gives no fucks.
長治さん。
君と僕の仲をふさわしくないと咎める人たちはきっといる。でも、そいつらの顔を見る必要はない。君は、その瞳の中に、
Yo, he's
僕だけ
getting
を
smooth.
満たしていればいいから。君を必ず幸せにする。それだけは絶対に約束するから。
どのように実るのか楽しみでならない。熟に過ぎて腐り落ちる果実の駅に黄金の蝶たちは舞い降りぬ。今より収穫の日が待ち遠しい。宴の時はまだか、まだ
Oh,
か。
banquet. Oh man, I like that song. Okay, so we're going back, but I guess we're seeing it from a different perspective. They had eaten breakfast at a coffee shop in the station building. By chance, the inside of the shop had been decorated with Halloween colors since it was October. Maria had seemed awfully pleased with that. For quite some time she talked loudly inside the train about wanting to have a Halloween festival without caring that she was attracting attention from others. Halloween is popular in Europe and America, but people aren't that familiar with it in Japan. The shopping district was colorfully decorated with orange pumpkins, but the costume parades of children demanding sweets and saying trick-or-treat were nowhere in sight.
Halloween 祭りがしたい。こんなお洋服やだ。魔女の格好がいい。親族会議は遊びじゃないのよ。おじいさまにお会いするんだから、ちゃんとしたお洋服じゃないとダメ。
While it wasn't completely full inside the train, it was really packed with almost all seats occupied by passengers. Maria was making a fuss among them, stomping her feet on the seat while Rosa was scowled at her. Rosa had warned her many times to lower her voice, but Maria hadn't obeyed her at all. Once Maria got like this, no matter how much she tried to explain the situation or calm her, she wouldn't listen. Before, Rosa had used to pamper Maria and give in to her at times like this. But that had probably been a mistake. Surely Maria had gained the mistaken impression that throwing a tantrum long enough would make her mother give up and do what Maria said. Rosa realized that error with the help of an educational book, and since then, she had hardened the part of her heart that wanted to pamper her beloved daughter. Her mutual understanding with Maria began to grow weaker and weaker, and she began to get discouraged by her own powerlessness more and more often. Halloween is my favorite.
お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞ。あなたにあげるお菓子はありません。さっき朝ごはんを食べたでしょ。お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃう。お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃう。
Yo, if my mom was Maria's mom, she would be getting spanked for sure. A stout old woman who was sitting nearby as Maria stomped her feet picked candy out of her handbag and held it out to Maria.
お菓子もらえた。お菓子もらえた。見てみたな。ハッピーハロウィン。こらマリア、勝手に人からお菓子をもらっちゃダメでしょ。返しなさい。
いいんですよ。元気なお嬢さんですこと。おいくつです？
Maybe there was no malice in the old woman's words. However, Rosa seemed to find that remark extremely humiliating.
マリア、知らない人からお菓子をもらっちゃいけないっていつも言ってるでしょ。おー、これはマリアがもらったの。やだ、マリアの。話しなさい。ママの言うことを聞けっていつも言ってるでしょ。マリアの。その言うのをやめなさいって言ってるでしょ。
Okay, who else would feel uncomfortable in that train with Rosa going? Rosa reflexively hit Maria violently on her cheek. In a flash, Maria started crying loudly. Rosa immediately took the candy away from Maria's hand and pushed it back towards the dumbfounded old woman sitting next to them.
うちの子に勝手にお菓子を与えないでください。
ごめんなさい。
Breathing heavily, Rosa once again held the candy out to the old woman. After getting flustered about what she should say for a few moments, perhaps the old woman realized that her reactions may have troubled this parent and child, and she accepted the candy back, apologizing. After that, Rosa finally took notice of her surroundings. Her daughter's clothes were all messed up and she was crying and shouting and her nose was dripping. And there were many dumbfounded passengers watching them. Except for the sound of the train running, the interior was completely silent. Fortunately, that pitiful silence didn't last more than a short while. However, it was followed by an even more painful atmosphere as everyone began to whisper. Maria shouted, kicked, and stomped her feet as the usual, paying no heed to the people sitting around her. Impulsively, Rosa tried to slap her again, but she noticed the cold eyes of people on the train and couldn't. When the train stopped, Rosa forcibly pulled Maria's arm and got off, almost dragging her daughter along. Maria didn't stop crying. Rosa took her to the end of the platform and hit her on the cheek again. At that moment she was hit, Maria stopped crying for an instant, but before long she shouted and cried even more than before. Overwhelmed with emotion, Rosa grabbed the nape of Maria's neck and dragged her, tugging at her hair. Alright, this is going a bit far now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times you need to get hit to stop doing that. I mean,
そんなんだからクラスにお友達ができないんでしょ。もっとしっかりしてよ。なんであんたはいつまでも頭の中が幼稚園なのよ。どうしてママの言うことが聞けないの。どうして。
With those severe words, Rosa hit Maria's cheek over and over again. Jesus. The more Maria cried and shouted, the more Rosa hit her. And the more Maria was hit, the more intensely she cried and shouted. Save you from herself?
そのをどうしてやめられないの。あんたがそんなんだから友達ができないのよ。 あんたがそんなんだからパパの出張が終わらないのよ。
Damn.
あんたがそんなんだから私が。
お客さん、いかがされましたか？
何かご用ですか？
The one who timidly called to her was the station attendant. Rosa glared at the attendant with that look that said, "Don't butt into problems of a mother and child, stranger." Of course, the attendant surely hadn't wanted to get involved either. However, Rosa had been yelling on the platform for much longer than she had imagined. Her emotional scolding had led to passengers on the platform to advise the attendant to call out to her. Rosa yelled at the attendant, saying not to worry anymore and that they'd be getting on the next train. And then finally, or rather, for the second time, she noticed passengers on the platform staring at her from a distance. Rosa sweat slightly and felt a breeze make her sweat go cold, tormenting her. Maria still kept crying, shielding her own head. Of course, if this beating continued, she'd probably keep crying indefinitely. As the terrible heat in Rosa's head faded, she knew that she had surrendered her soul to evil again. It's almost like she has like Hanimazawa syndrome at times. Rosa fell to her knees and hugged Maria, whose face was all soggy with tears and mucus.
Maria, ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Finally, Maria realized that her mother was her mother again. She clung to her mother's body and cried, burying her face in her mother's chest.
悪いママを許して。悪いママを許して。本当にごめんなさい。ママをどうか嫌いにならないで。マ
The contrasting between how like Maria's like all baby-like, and then when she does the witch like thing is so startling. And the same with Rosa, where she just goes ham beating the hell out of Maria, and then is like,
ママを嫌いになんかならない。ママはまた悪い魔女に乗り移られていただけ。でもママが帰ってきたから平気。悪い魔女に。
it is like she's possessed at times. It's weird.
ごめんね。本当にごめんね。
Maybe both are possessed by different witches. For a long time, the two of them hugged each other, asking for and sharing words of forgiveness. After a while, they calmed down and both moved back at the same time. Maria's face and Rosa's face were both deep red after crying their eyes out.
マリアはハロウィンのお祭りがしたいの？
うん。ジョージお兄ちゃんやジェシカお姉ちゃんにかぼちゃマシュマロを見せてあげたかった。
It was candy they'd been selling near the cash register at the shop they'd eaten breakfast. A fancy sweet that had a big orange marshmallow in the shape of a jack-o'-lantern attached to the tip of the stick. Maria had wanted it and insistently pestered Rosa for it. Rosa had refused, saying there was no way she could buy sweets right after breakfast.
じゃあマリア、この町に売っているかどうかわからないけど、降りて探してみようか。
ママ大好き、愛してる。ありがとう。
私もよ、マリア。愛してるわ。
The truth was they didn't have time to waste loitering around the stopover station. If they missed the airplane, they'd fall half a day behind schedule. She should have left home with more time to spare, but she'd ended up leaving late after choosing Maria's clothes. Because of that, Rosa had been a bit impatient since the morning. She looked at the clock. They had to get on the next train immediately. But her daughter firmly joined hands with her to go buy sweets with her mother, and that hand was warm. To Rosa, as she was now, it was more important to renew her bonds with Maria. To her, Maria was not only her beloved daughter, but she was everything Rosa had. Fortunately, they could see a big supermarket right in the front of the station. They might not be able to find exactly the same sweet, but Maria would probably be happy with a similar one. Besides, Rosa couldn't show up with a face swelled from crying. She must fix her makeup.
あれと全く同じマシュマロは見つからないかもしれないけど、似たようなお菓子があるといいね。それで、いとこのみんなを一緒に驚かそうね。
うん。ママと一緒に買うお菓子なら何でもいい。
They exited through the turnstiles of the station in this unknown town. Maria walked across the pedestrian crossing with her mother, chuckling to herself as though she had been walking in an amusement park. Both faces were still deep red, but the two of them, mother and child, smiled warmly at each other without any restraint. I'm gonna stop here for right now. But yeah, this was more of a depressing one than the one before. But yeah, interesting. We got to see everything. I mean, we got to see multiple heartbroken people. We have Beatrice kind of meddling and stuff. Kanon just like lost it, just destroyed the brooch, which is not looking good for him in the future, because Beatrice for sure does not really like him. And yeah, then we saw Aunt Rosa literally beating the hell out of Maria for Maria doing Maria things, and talked about being possessed by the evil witch, which is just their term for it, but I'm pretty sure she is being possessed by a witch. That would make sense. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the episode in the comments.